Gardens. I've been here a long time. This is my 10th season working here at Reptile Gardens. It's my 6th season doing the show. So if you guys have been out here before, there's a good chance you've seen me. I am just getting back this summer, still trying to get the swing of things. All the shows have gone well, though, so we'll try to keep that up. Do you guys have any questions about anything you've seen so far today? Okay. It is a small enough crowd. If you guys have any questions as I'm going along, just yell them out to me. I'll see if I can answer them for you. The first snake I have here is not all that exciting. It's a pretty typical snake. Harmless, found in Central and South America. It's known as a yellow-tailed crebo. Basically, he is a really big gorgeous snake. He's not that exciting. The reason we have been shows, though, is just so I can kind of point out a few things about snakes before we get to the more exciting ones. First off, a lot of people, they're under this impression that snakes are these cold, slimy, disgusting creatures. They are reptiles, they are cold-blooded. That doesn't mean they're always cold. It just means they take on the temperature of whatever environment they're in. So it's a nice air tone, and in cages like this, they feel again, he's just taking on the temperature of his environment. As for being slimy, this guy kind of looks slimy, smooth, shiny scales. No snakes are slimy though, there's just no reason for them to be. They're actually inspired to do it. The best way to describe what a snake like this one feels like is plastic or linoleum. There's a snake we'll have at the end of the show. You guys can come up, see what he feels like. Now if you look at it, you can see they do have eyes. Snakes, they have terrible eyesight though. He probably has a hard time really seeing you guys from this distance. And then if you look close, you'll see that they don't have external ear openings. There's no ear. So they're pretty much deaf to any of the airborne vibrations you and I can pick up on. He's going to rely on his sense of smell, which is for everything. That sense of smell is actually when you see him flicking his tongue out. He's flicking his tongue out, picking up particles, bringing it into his mouth to a special organ in the upper jaw, the Jacobson's organ. Like I said, it is their most important sense. They rely on it for everything, finding food, finding mates, finding den sites. Our curator has kind of a funny story he likes to tell. This was years before I worked here. But he was a snake, spent snake, it only fits in the warm water and the hole was and the snake has his mouth pressed flat against the side of this rock trying to swallow it. For a snake, if it smells like food, there's a good chance it is food. So again, you're gonna rely on that sense of smell from everything. The one thing that makes this guy pretty interesting is that it's his method for killing the prey. He's not a venomous snake, he's not a constrictor. What he does is he finds the prey, strikes out, gets a hold of it, he then swallows it as quickly as possible while the animal's still alive. Nobody's sure why they do it this way. I've heard a lot of theories, none of them sound all that good to me. The best is probably that's just how the snake ensures he always gets a fresh meal. The drawbacks are obvious. The animal being eaten probably doesn't want to be eaten, so he's going to fight back. It's not uncommon to find these snakes with eyes gouged out, with bites or cuts along the body, even killed by their intended prey. So most snakes, most animals find it to be a better idea if they just kill their prey before they start to swallow it. But like I said, not that exciting of a snake. Do you guys have any questions on the crebo before I put them away?
How do you spell that?
Crebo? C-R-I-B-O. Yep. And alright, so we'll put this guy away. The next snake I have for you guys is going to be one I think you're going to like a little bit more. It's a little bit bigger than that crebo.
No, I love this one. I love this one.
Okay, this one is a Burmese python. These guys, they're from the jungles of southeastern Asia. This one's actually an albino. That's why he's this white and yellow color. Normally they should be more of a green with blacks, tans, browns running through. You guys can get up in the dome. We have two on display so you can kind of see the difference. You won't find albinos like this in nature. If they are born, which is very rare, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Any animal that comes along when he's little is going to need time to find him and making a meal of him. He's going to have a hard time hiding from prey. So you won't see these ones in nature. This guy looks big. He's probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 feet long, 45, maybe 50 pounds. Honestly, he's nowhere near full grown. The ones we have on display in the dome, they're like twice his length and 120 or 130 pounds. Even that isn't full grown. The record for a Burmese python is well over 20 feet and just under 300 pounds. So these guys do have a lot of growing left to do. They're definitely one of the giants of the snake world. I'm sure you guys are all pretty familiar with how he goes about killing his prey. He's going to use constriction. So just like that Grebo, he finds the prey, strikes out, gets a hold of it. What he does then is coil up around it as quickly as possible, get it wrapped up like this. Once he has the prey in these coils, he starts to tighten. As the animal exhales, the snake tightens more. Animal exhales again, the snake tightens. What he's doing is he's trying to compress the chest cavity to prevent the animal from inhaling. I've actually seen studies now where they say some of these snakes may be able to compress the chest cavity to the point where the heart can't beat anymore. So it is a very effective method for killing the prey. The thing is, it's not the way you guys often hear it described. Even on like the Animal Planet or the Discovery Channel, they describe it as this very violent, bone-crushing experience where the snake crushes the prey to death. If you actually get in there, examine a kill made by a constrictor, it's rare to find any broken bones at all. It's a very controlled process, just compressing that chest cavity. Another cool thing with snakes, all snakes, they have to swallow their prey whole. It's not a big deal though, even if the animal's a lot bigger than the snake is. This snake, for instance, every week he's fed a few large rabbits. If you get up into the dome, we have a reticulated python on display. She's like 17, 18 feet, a couple hundred pounds. I came out 3 or 4 Christmases ago from a break and watched them feed her a goat. So they can eat animals a lot bigger around than they are. It's actually really cool to watch. You can see the prey go all the way down through it. Even on an animal the size of a goat, you're probably going to get through that snake like a week to 10 minutes to digest it. They can digest tissue, antlers, bone, teeth, anything like that. Any questions on the Burmese python? Okay, this is the snake I will bring back out at the end of the show. If you guys do have any questions on him, or if you want to see what he feels like, just hang back a couple minutes. Now, like I said, he uses constriction. That's better than what that Grebo tries. At least he kills his prey before he starts to swallow it. There are some downsides with constriction though. As you saw there, it requires a lot of contact with the prey animal. That animal again is not going to be happy, he's going to fight back. It's not uncommon to find constrictors with injuries as well. That's why everything we feed out here at Reptile Gardens, it is pre-killed. It's just safer for the snake, more humane for the prey. Generally, the best method, or the safest method for killing the prey is to use venom. Most of the time, using venom requires very little contact. That should make it safer for the snake. This one is what's known as a mangrove snake. They're from the jungles of Southeastern Asia as well. It's a tree-dwelling or an arboreal snake. Now the mangrove snakes, they belong to a group known as the rear-fanged or the back-fanged venomous snakes. Just like that name implies, his fangs are right at the back of his mouth. Give you guys an idea of where they are. Look for the eyes. Those fangs are going to be directly below his eyes. Now the rear-fanged venomous snakes, they don't have the ability to inject their venom like the other venomous snakes do. First off, they don't have the hollow tube-like fangs. Their fangs are just like our teeth. They're solid. There's some grooves running down the side. So basically, when he bites his prey, he has to work it towards the back of his mouth where those fangs are located. He then has to almost kind of chew the venom into it. It's a slow process. It takes several seconds for the venom to reach the wound. So most constrictors, or most rear-fanged venomous snakes, they use constriction. For these same reasons, most rear-fanged venomous snakes there are some exceptions. Here in the dome, you can see the wood slime. That's a rear-fanged venomous snake that's killed a lot of people. They have an incredibly cool venom. That's why you do see the fatalities. The venom in this mangrove snake, never been a reported human fatality for one. It's still not fun. Our curator was just emailed a picture of a guy bitten on the hand, on the thumb, from another zoo. He was bitten by one of these snakes. His hand swelled up to like 2 or 3 times its normal size. The tissue on the thumb had turned black where it was dying off. The guy was sick, nauseous, dizzy, things like that for a few days. He had a splitting headache. But again, never actually killed anyone as of yet. Any questions on this snake, the rear-fanged venomous snake?
Is that like the Gila monster?
Exactly, same idea with the Gila monster where it has to chew the venom in. So it is a very slow bite, that's why we're not so worried with these guys.
Where did they live?
all throughout Southeastern Asia. The big places we'll get, like where we get all ours from, are like Indonesia. And so it's actually kind of weird in that each island, there's like 10,000 islands there. Each island has a little bit different one, so the venom in one might be much stronger than the venom in another. So we're never really sure what we're dealing with. Okay, so that was a weird thing, venomous snake. There's still 2 more groups of venomous snakes in the world. These other 2 groups both have their fangs right up at the front of the mouth. They have the hollow tube-like fangs, the venom glands controlled by a strong muscle. So they can inject their venom very similar to a syringe. Makes it very safe for the snake. Not with contact with the prey. This one is what's known as a cottonmouth or a water moccasin. You find them in the southeastern United States. Generally, you find them very close to water, near streams, rivers, swamps, things like that. Cottonmouths they're actually very cool snakes. They get the name cottonmouth from what he's going to do when he's feeling threatened. We can get him to show here. He's going to open his mouth widely, gape it towards me. Mouth's lined with open. He's going to open his mouth widely. Did it in the last show, buddy. There you go. Opening his mouth, gaping it towards me. As you saw there, the mouth was lined with a very white tissue, kind of looks like cotton. In nature, if you see this type of contrast, a light, bright color against a dark, dull color, it's a warning. It's saying, I'm dangerous, stay away, don't mess with me. It's known as aphthmatic coloration. It's the same thing you see on a skunk or a poison dart frog. Now the vipers are really cool in that they have really long fangs. A full-grown cottonmouth is going to be about twice this size. They can have fangs about 1 inch long. The baboon viper of Africa, that's the snake that has the longest fangs. They've been recorded at just under 2 inches. Because they're so long, if they were fixed permanent in his mouth, like our teeth are, if they didn't move, they'd stick straight out through the bottom of his lower jaw. So the vipers have a cool adaptation where their fangs are almost on hinges, bones that pivot. When he closes his mouth, they swing to the roof of the mouth and it keeps him out of the way. What makes it really cool though, is when he goes to strike, like you saw there at the beginning, those fangs swing straight out in front, so a viper doesn't have to bite you and latch to inject the venom. All he has to do is strike out, lightly take you. It's a very quick bite, not much contact with the prey, so it's going to make it very safe for the snake. You guys may have heard stories about cottonmouths. They have a reputation as being very aggressive snakes. You're going to hear stories of people swimming or fishing, cottonmouths chasing them out of the water, chasing them away from the water, going up into boats after people. These stories, for the most part, aren't 100% accurate. No snake is going to chase you. No snake's going to go running after you. If you stumble up on him, you startle him, you threaten him, you corner him, he may strike out. He may come towards you, try to get you to back up away. But if you turn and run, no snake's going to follow you. They don't see you as prey. They're not going to waste their time or their energy going after you. One of the reasons these guys get this reputation is that they spend a lot of time in the water. They don't live there. They like getting up on the logs, on the rocks, on the thing. They see a person sitting in the water, or a boat sitting there. From a distance with their eyesight, it might look kind of like a log or a rock, something they can get up on. As they make their way towards it, the person gets scared, splashes around, scares the snake. He strikes out. Looks like he's coming after him. It's just a big miscommunication. So again, not going to chase after you. Even if he did though, it's just a snake. He's not going to catch you. Any questions on the cottonmouth? Okay. The next snake I have for you guys. This is one I think you'll recognize very quickly. This snake you could consider to be one of the deadliest. It is actually the snake that is responsible for killing more people each year than any other snake. The numbers I've seen, they're all rough estimates. Generally 15 to 25,000 people a year are killed by these snakes. Okay, this is a cobra. It's not a king cobra. This is what's known as an Asian or monocled cobra. Now people recognize him very easily. They take that unique position you saw there, lifts his head up off the ground, pushes his ribs out. It's called a hood. What he's doing is trying to make himself look larger, more threatening, more scary. He's trying to get me to back up away. You'll also recognize these cobras from the snake charmers. They get down in front of the snake, they play the flute, he stands up like you saw there, sways back and forth with the music.
But they can't hear.
Yep, exactly. That's why it's an act. No snake, again, has external ears. They're not going to hear the flute. What they're doing is moving to the movement the snake charmer is making. You'll see him twitching his elbows back and forth. He'll move his feet back and forth. Cobras will key in on that. They'll follow it around. The other reason they use cobras is that when a cobra stands up, like you saw when he came out of that box, it changes their strike. So when he's down like this, he has that same springing forward strike any snake does, very quick, very hard to avoid. When he stands up though, it becomes a forward downward motion. It's pretty slow, pretty predictable. An alert person can get within striking distance of a cobra that's standing up, allow the snake to strike, and avoid being bit. That's why they use them as an element of safety to the act. Like I said, they do kill more people each year than any other snake. The numbers I've seen, they're all rough estimates. Again, they're about 15 to 25,000 people. When you look at the U.S., we have many venomous snakes, generally 5 to 8,000 bites and less than a dozen fatalities. So it goes back to these guys being so common throughout the area. There's so many people, and there's often that lack of medical attention and the bad combination. On top of that, they have a pretty potent venom. It's considered to be about 40 times as toxic as cyanide. The quickest recorded fatality for one of these snakes is just under 7 minutes. So it is a fairly strong venom, another reason you do see those fatalities. Anybody have any questions on the cobra? Okay. The last snake I have for you guys, this is another one I think you guys will recognize right away. It's the only venomous snake that you'll find here in South Dakota. It is a rattlesnake. Oh! This is what's known as a prairie rattlesnake. Only venomous snake species that you will find in South Dakota. This is This is a pretty typical sized prairie. Honestly, they're not massive snakes. The record is 4 foot 8 inches. That was many years ago. Nowadays, you'd be lucky to find one near that size. This one I actually really like. He does a good job of helping to illustrate one of the myths we hear, and that's that a rattlesnake is always going to rattle before he strikes. This one struck a couple times, he's up in the strike position, hasn't rattled all that much. We bring some out, they rattle the entire time, they just move along the glass, they don't seem all that bothered by me. We bring others out, they hold their ground, they strike constantly, they don't rattle at all. It just goes down to the personality of that snake. Most herpetologists will tell you rattlesnakes don't even know their tails make noise. Goes back to no ears, you can't hear it. Not to mention, a lot of snakes, when they feel threatened or scared, they twitch their tails back and forth. It's just a nervous twitch they have. This is kind of an evolutionary adaptation on that twitch. It's a warning, saying don't step on me, don't mess with me, things like that. They are very common here in the Black Hills. You just don't see them a lot. I've lived here my entire life, a lot of hiking, a lot of camping. I've only ran into about a dozen. You'd be surprised though how many times you're within 10 or 15 feet of one of these snakes and don't know it. Not always going to be rattling. Most will back up. If you're rattling as I back up, you can see he's not rattling. Some will rattle at 50 feet, some at 20. Some I'm going to have to get up there, almost step on him before he's going to rattle. I'm not always going to know he's there. If you do hear this rattle, if you're out hiking or working in the yard and you hear this rattle, don't just turn and run. The best thing you can do is stop the second you hear it. The acoustics on the tail can make it very hard to tell where the snake's actually located. We've heard stories of people hearing the rattle, they turn to run, they run right into the snake. So you want to stop, try to visually locate him, then walk around him. If you can't see him, slowly walk, being very careful where you're stepping. Odds are he's just going to get right out of your way. If you're bitten by one, or by any venomous snake, there is nothing you can do to affect the outcome of that bite in a positive way besides going straight to the hospital. Any of the home remedies you've heard of, any of the folk remedies, they don't work. They're either going to cause more harm or they're going to do absolutely nothing. The big one is that cut and suck method. You see it all the time. You cut through the venom marks and suck the venom out. Honestly, that does nothing. You'll never suck enough of a snake's venom out to make a big difference, especially with a viper. Such long fangs, they're injected so deep, you're not going to get it cutting yourself, that's wisdom. All it's going to do is destroy more tissue. You're going to run the risk of infection. Not to mention, there's a story our curator heard years ago. A guy here in the U.S. bitten on the lower leg by a snake, tried that cut and suck method. He hit an artery and bled to death before he could get to the hospital. To make it worse, it turned out the snake that bit him probably wasn't even a venomous snake. So, the best thing you can do is learn to identify the venomous snake species in your region. And if you are bitten or even think you were bitten, head straight to the hospital. It's the only thing that's going to help. Any questions on the prairie rattlesnake?
No.
Question? No? No question? Okay.
They lay eggs or bring forth their young ones.
These what they do live birth. With any snake, the rule of thumb there is if they're in the new world, they're going to give live birth. If they're in the old world, they're going to give eggs. Question? Are they deadly? There have been fatalities. There hasn't been a death in South Dakota since like '76. So as long as you get to the doctor, you'll be fine.
They can still inject after you, if you get bit. I know a lot of times they'll say to try to bring in the head for identification to get proper antidote, but they can still bite without being dead too, right?
Yeah, actually, I went over to my uncle's house last summer and they killed him. They just killed him right before I got there. And within a few hours afterwards, you could still walk up to it and that finger open and close his mouth at you, do that type of stuff. We've heard stories of people stepping on a head that's been cut off, and the fangs will get pushed into your foot, and you'll press the venom glands and still inject yourself. The one thing is now in the U.S. it's actually very good though. All our venomous snakes outside of the coral snake down south use the exact same antivenom. So if you are bitten here, you don't have to worry about trying to bring in the snake anymore then. Anywhere else in the world though.
What question do you have?
Any other questions?
Oh.
Yeah?
What do they eat most?
What do they eat most? They love prairie dogs. If you find a prairie dog town, you're going to find all sorts of rattlesnakes out there. But they'll eat any rodent, bird, other snakes, anything like that. Question?
Okay.
I like that turtle.
Look, he's moving.
Babies. Can that turtle babysit me?
They're right here.
When is he gonna do this?
You're gonna walk over if you don't get out this way.
Wait. Don't run up on them.
Where do they have their babies? Where do they have their babies? Mom, where do their babies come out?
They're back in.
Ew, they're poop?
No.
Ew.
He's trying to go inside.
Oh. Yeah?
I like those turtles.
Will he fit in there? Yeah, he'll fit.
Like, fit inside? Are they allowed to go inside?
Yeah, that's their house right there.